But I read his bio, and I was really impressed with his bio because the first thing on the bio is the fact that he has a wife. And so, you know, because everything is by importance, right? So he has his wife down here, Karen, and his 2 children. And that really says something about a person when you know, using your bio, you have all your important accomplishments up on top, you know. So anyway, congratulations on that. How many years? 30. Yeah. Let's give him a big hand for that. As a local businessman and a now in politics and doing grassroots stuff, it's really great to have people in our community that are doing things, and because all of us know that it's kind of hard at times to get out and do things because you have to cut time off of something else in order to devote your time to things that are maybe outside of things that directly benefit you and your family. So without further ado, I'd just like to welcome Frank.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. God bless America. God bless you all. Let me ask you a question. How many of us in here are veterans? Are there any veterans here that have served? Any first responders? Any police or firefighters? We definitely want to thank those guys because they're in this fight with us. You've seen how they're being attacked, water thrown on them. In fact, I would drink this cup of water in front of you, but it would probably leak because I've been shot at so many times by the New York Times and the Scranton Times that they definitely put a couple holes in me, tried to character assassinate. So, having said that, we're here. It's a badge of honor. But I will tell you this, there are casualties with the liberal media. And one of those casualties is my mom. She cries. She says, Frank, you can't do this anymore. Frank, stop talking to them, meaning the Scranton Times and the New York Times. It doesn't bother me, ladies and gentlemen. When you are an American citizen standing and defending the United States Constitution, which, by the way, this is the owner's manual for America. Do you see how thin it is? Yes. Do you see when Nancy Pelosi comes up and says you have to pass it to see what's in it, and that thing is 3,000 pages? You know it's corrupt. You know nothing inside that bill is going to work, that it's all stacked against us. So I think the big subject today is the Second Amendment. And the Second Amendment is just very simple, and I will read it to you because we'll start off the meeting in such fashion. Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to secure the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It's basically a sentence. It's very simple. And without the Second Amendment, you will not be able to have the First Amendment, which brings us here assembled today, that says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, of abridging the freedom of speech, which we are doing, or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. First and second. That's what makes us work. That is what makes us different than other countries, other societies. So, you know, having said that, we're under attack. We're making history right now. Not only are they trying to impeach Donald Trump is our voice. He's probably doing what we would do if we were president. It's some simple stuff, a lot of simple things. Like the guy just says, here's what we're going to do, and we're going to do it. And then guess what happens? The press attacks them, they lie about him. You know, I listen to a lot of talk radio. And, you know, when the commercial comes on between Rush Limbaugh or Savage or Levin or whoever else it is, Prager, the media has a narrative. They say, you know, here's one. We just took out Soleimani, the guy that had, for 20 years, been controlling surrogates that have murdered 600 U.S. military and countless thousands of Muslims. And they say, well, you know, Trump said there were no injuries to U.S. servicemen, but they found out there were 10 injuries. This is a week later. The initial assessment was like nobody got killed. The generals gave him the information. And then 3 days later, 4 days later, when you find out there were some people that were subjected to the blast and maybe some concussions, the media says it was Trump. It was Trump. Now, can you blame your neighbors for hating Donald Trump? Because it's what's drilled into them day after day, every minute from who? The media. So let's identify who the enemy is. The enemy is that liberal media that lies, that sets this up, that it's American against American. Look what's happening in Virginia. Now they're trying to compare that to Charlottesville. Now Charlottesville, yeah, there were some crazy people down there, and then we had a car that was driven by some nutcase that ran over people. They're trying to say they're worried about a Charlottesville now, and that they want to ban all the guns. Well, you can't ban the guns at the rally in Charlottesville because this says the government shall not do that. But they are, and it went before the corrupt Virginia Supreme Court, and what did they do? So elections have consequences. You know, while and I know this group in here, is everyone registered to vote? Because I do have registrations today. And if anyone wants to change their registration to Republican, I have them here today. That's the most important thing that we're ever going to do is vote. The second most important thing we're going to do, think about it. So we could have rallies, we could do all this. Virginia's going to be great. And some people here are going down to Virginia. I wish I could join you. I'll be there with you in spirit because we have to show that we're not going to lay down. We're not going to sit down. We are going to fight this in mass, in large numbers. So, a word to the wise. There were just 6 arrests, and the media, I can't trust them. They said they arrested neo-Nazis. Okay, all well and good. But they did it because these people were in chat rooms, encrypted chat rooms, and guess what? The government can decrypt and watch what you're doing. So if you have one of these, and you're sending your texts and voicemails and whatever else, just know they know where you're at, they know who you are, and they're saving it in huge drives and huge buildings so that someday, if they ever come, they're going to know who you are. So we might as well fight them now. Fight them right here while we still have control, because once we lose control, that's going to be, that's why we fight, because America is under attack right now from so many different, from unelected bureaucrats, from the deep state. You know, I sat on the Old Ford School Board for 13 years. And even inside your local political organizations and school boards, there's just so many people that don't like the freedoms we have, that want something done a different way that's going to restrict prayer or religion or telling and speaking the truth with the history of the United States from the Revolution, World War II, all these accomplishments that make America a great nation. And listen, we earned it. America has earned its stripes. We didn't, you know, emigrate here and follow the yellow brick road and had everything handed to us. Our forefathers, my father, my grandfather, my uncle who served in the military, helped to build America to what it is. And America is a great, wealthy country, and there's people out there that want to rob it, and they're trying to take it piece by piece, brick by brick. So it's important that we have meetings like this, but the next most important thing that we need to do is send emails. I just heard about this the other day on a local talk radio show. You know, you could write a letter. Okay, someone may read the letter, someone may not. You can make phone calls. They may listen to the phone calls. They may not. Because I've called Matt Cartwright and Bob Casey like on speed dial and left numerous messages to the point that it says we can no longer accept messages. The message machine is full. But emails, if we can clog up their emails by everybody sending emails in 5 to 10 to 100 apiece, guess what's going to happen? They're going to be going through so many emails that they're not going to be able to conduct their normal business, and they're going to have to react to this because there's probably other emails coming that they want to see, but yet we're flooding them with, look, Second Amendment. This is a right. It's not like driving your car here today. That's a privilege. That's a privilege. Insurance coverage, that's not a right. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that the United States government is going to provide insurance, healthcare insurance. Although the 10th Amendment, and I'll get to Supreme Court Justice Roberts, guy is bad news, because the 10th Amendment says the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or the people. Nowhere did anybody vote for health care to become a right. There's no amendment. It doesn't say anything about the government providing health care. If the state wants to do it, let the state do it. So if Pennsylvania decided to do that and we didn't like it, we could move to another state. But when they federalize it, and 50 states have to follow it without having it as a ratified amendment to the Constitution, that's unconstitutional. So us, how do we know that? But a guy like Roberts, it's just a tax. Are you crazy? So there's a lot of things that are going wrong in the country right now, but that's where it's going to take us to say no, especially with the Second Amendment. A lot of people might have sit idly by while it was the health care, while it's other issues, but now the Second Amendment, Pennsylvania is not far behind. Wolf already had a state of emergency where your gun rights, whether you know it or not, you sat through it, you lived through it, because it really wasn't enforced, but he already put in place a state of emergency where your gun rights were restricted. Just because you didn't see it happen, they did it. It was a test case. And I can tell you this. Wolf and Shapiro, which Shapiro just announced he's going to run for auditor, what is Shapiro here? He is the state's attorney general. He just announced that he's going to run for attorney general again. But he's going to run for governor, mark my words. And this guy is an anti-gun. They're worried about defining a trigger mechanism of a gun without a barrel as a weapon. So wait a minute. Now parts of a gun are weapons? How? Are you going to pick it up and beat somebody over the head with it? Yeah. So it just goes to show you what they want to try to do. And this is absolutely bad. It's critical. Because without the Second Amendment, you'll be like most of those Middle East countries over there because they don't have Second Amendments. Right. Why do you think there's all this violence? Because only the violent have the weapons. Right. So it is crazy. I do have a concealed carry permit. I do carry. If you've seen the incidents in Texas with the church, and that gentleman that was well-trained, and within 6 seconds, that's amazing. I know that some of the moons probably can do that in 6 seconds. I know. I've seen Justin shoot on that video where he shoots 500 yards, and he's hitting that target, so he's definitely a 6-second guy.
So that is just his wife.
And his wife.
Mainly are NRA certified.
Yes. Yep. So practice. But in Lackawanna County, if you want a concealed carry, it's only $20. It's either cash or credit card. They don't take check. They're open Monday through Friday from 8 to 3. And all you need is 2 character witnesses. And you'll have your concealed carry. That's how easy it is. So I suggest practicing. Apply for this permit. Get it. And then it's free will. If you want to carry, great. If you don't, you don't have to. And if someone's offended by guns, well, no one's forcing them to do anything. You could steer clear of guns. You don't. Put it this way. Does anybody know if I'm carrying today?
No.
If you look, I wore the wrong jeans.
What is it?
If you're looking, you could print on my left leg. There's a Kimber 9mm. Not loaded. We're safe. That gun poses no threat to anybody here. It only poses a threat to someone that would see this as a church and say, I'm targeting those people. Because people of religion, whether you're Jewish, Christian, Muslim, whatever, you're targets. I don't know why. I don't know what possesses someone to take that path. But we don't have to sit here and analyze. We just have to be prepared, ready to defend ourselves, our family, our children, our wives,
We are ready.
and we're ready. And that's it. And if it never happens, then it never happens. No one's the wiser. But if someone were to come through those doors, I think that we're prepared, and that's point of what this presentation is about today, this talk. You have to think about it now, because it's there. Going to a movie theater, that's any place that people gather. Being on the school board, I want to see our teachers carry. Now, Old Forge is a small school district, Scranton a little bit bigger, but how do you know when that day is going to come? And if teachers don't want to carry, that's fine. But for those that do, you're not a sitting duck. You could take action. You have control of the situation, and if you are attacked, you will not go down without a fight. You won't become the prey of the wolves and the demons that are out there. So, pretty powerful stuff. Register to vote. Get your concealed carry or weapon registrations. Pennsylvania's open carry. So if you walk around with open, you don't need it. Just don't wear a sport coat. There's some things, there's some benefits to living in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and we want to preserve those, but they're under attack right now. And like I said, Virginia first, we're part of the original 13 colonies. It's probably not far behind with Wolfe and Shapiro in there. But I want to switch gears and talk to what we're going to do here. Second Amendment, sanctuary counties, sanctuary cities. The sanctuary city theory came about because we don't want to put illegal aliens back into whatever or wherever they came from. So it's a good idea to use their model and their thought processes, which are skewed and not correct. But let's apply those to law-abiding citizens. Why should we become victims of our government when the laws are on our side? So what we want to try to do is sign petitions, get over 3 to 5% of the voting population to sign these petitions, because that's what can influence elections. When somebody sees that there is a mass movement of voters and they want to support the agenda, whether it's guns or whatever it is, then the only way to get through, and politicians, I'm not one of them. I say what I'm going to do, and I do what I say. So that's more of an activist, that's more of a businessman, that's more of a grassroots American patriot. Whereas a politician is going to tell you one thing and do another. Once they're in an office, forget it. It's like they never said it. That's why you have to hold their feet to the fire. Because I really think that with what President Trump has been doing and is doing, and for Matt Cartwright to vote to impeach him and to go against him, almost everything that President Trump has on his agenda, which benefits Northeast PA, jobs, security, somebody's got to take him out. So we do have some good candidates that would be coming forward, and hopefully Matt Cartwright will no longer represent us, because he doesn't represent my views or my family's views or most likely my community's views. But I will tell you this, I know what gets him ticked off. I don't know if you know Bob Bolus, and he has the Trump truck and the Hillary truck. Well, they had a little get-together down in Old Forge for Matt Cartwright, and Bob Bolus comes pulling up with his 2 trailers. And, those of us in Old Forge that support other than Matt Cartwright were having a ball that day. And those that supported Matt Cartwright were they were pacing. They called the police. They wanted the tractor trailers moved. And guess what? We're in legal parking zones. There's no reason for us to move. So there was a lot of gnashing of teeth. There was a lot of videos taken accusing people of being, like George Soros does, like rent a picketer and rent a protester. And that's what people said. Frank, who's paying these guys? I said, these people are all patriots. I know them. Nobody's paying them. They're coming here because they're saying, we want somebody else. Well, who paid Bob Bolus for the trucks? I said, he does this out of the kindness of his heart. It's an expense for Bob Bolus, but he too is a patriot, and he wants to see things change. So, We're always doing something to to give people hope. You know, our Lord gives people hope. We give people hope. Give people hope to say, you can change this. Just speak up. Just stand up. And in the end, just get out and vote. Because that's what we're not doing enough of. We don't get up enough and vote. But get back to the New York Times story. That was in March of last year. So it's June. And I got a voicemail. Mr. Scavo, I need to speak to you. This is Liz Bianchi, and I'm out of Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. Why is somebody out of Detroit, Michigan calling me? I got to find out. Because I'm on Facebook. I have all these websites, Scavo for Senate, whatever I had. So this lady calls and she said, you know that guy from the New York Times? I said, yeah. She goes, he did a hit piece on us out here the same way he did it on you. And I was like, you're kidding? She said, basically, it was the same story. All he did was change out the pictures and put these pictures in there. Well, guess what? If that doesn't prove that the New York Times has a narrative, has a template, and they're going to demean and demagogue anybody that stands up and tries to change things, oh, there it is. Right there. So the New York Times, that's where we say the liberal media, the lion media. You know, I have a good friend. He's a Cuban. He was a Cuban exile from the Mariel boat lift way back when in the 80s, if you remember that. His name is Leonard. And he was a criminal. He's reformed now. He's okay. Not sure if he votes. Oh, I don't know. But here I am with Leonard sitting at the McDonald's and a couple of his friends. Now, you know, my heritage is Italian and Welsh and Polish. And here I am with Leonard, and Leonard's Cuban. As dark as the day is long. They didn't put that picture in the paper. Why not? Didn't support their lion narrative. So I told Leonard about that. I said, Leonard, look, they didn't even put a picture of me and your friends. Because when I go to McDonald's, they're there. They hang out. See them all the time. Good friends. We talk. Leonard, he likes to race cars like I do. And he's a Second Amendment supporter. And this guy came from Cuba because he knows what communism, socialism, he knows what repression is. He knows all that. And when he saw that he wasn't in the picture, but we sat there that day, and he was also interviewed by the New York Times. Nothing. He goes like this with his finger. Hey, Frank, that's the lion media. Damn right, Leonard, that's the lion media. So these guys have it all figured out. That's why I say, how can you? We have to re-educate the people. They're lying. They're getting propaganda from the Scranton Times, the New York Times, from ABC, NBC. I saw the other night where MSNBC reported that there were 20 dead Americans after that first missile attack. 20 dead. For the people that don't follow it, there's people out there that probably still think 20 Americans were killed that night because it was reported to them. And they don't hear any other news source that says it wasn't. And guess what? Trump is bad. He got 20 of our guys killed. Frank Scavo's bad. That guy, oh, what? You know what? It's a shame that they have to lie. It's a shame that they have to demean us, that we're deplorable. Why? I don't feel threatened in this room by anyone. They're threatening us, Virginia. They want to take away the guns by a guy that was in blackface that said such remarks about the unborn, make these children comfortable when they're just conceived, and then what? What? They're not alive? They're less than. It's crazy. But back to the Second Amendment, I just want to tell you about the New York Times. So we know what to expect if somebody talks to a reporter. They're going to spin your words. But we talk to them. We have to tell them the truth. And it may get out someday. But we're going to circulate petitions. We're going to ask for our commissioners in Lackawanna County and Pike County and Monroe and all the counties across Pennsylvania. We want them to reaffirm, put them on the record saying that we support the Second Amendment. Because when I was sworn in as school board director 13 times, well, actually a 4-year term, so 3 times, not 13. I served 13 years. You swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States. Inside this Constitution, number 2 is what? Second Amendment, right, to keep and bear arms. How could you, as a sitting county commissioner, swear to uphold and defend and protect the Constitution, but then not vote for this piece of legislation that we're going to write petitions for and reaffirm that we're a Second Amendment sanctuary? They can't. They have to do what we ask, because the precondition is you've been elected to uphold and protect this. So, if you've put it this way, the NRA should already be contacting us, not us contacting them. Because I'm a life member. Spend a lot of money, send a lot of money to those guys. NRA, where you at? Okay? So I'm going to call them out. Because these people, they've been, if you're placed in society, if I want to be a patriot, and I come here today and profess to you that I'm a patriot, then when the day comes, I have to take up arms to defend this as a citizen. It's the way it is. My son will probably come with me. My wife, maybe. My daughter, no, she's staying home. Because you have to say the brutal facts. She's not going to be in the fight. She may vote, but she's not taking up arms. But I believe 3 members of my family will, if that day ever comes, which I hope it doesn't. But if it comes, what do we do? Follow Bernie Sanders? Are we going to be socialist? Are we going to be like, I remember the old days with Brezhnev and then Yuri Andropov. He only lasted 6 months because whatever he was doing, they didn't like, so they took him out within 6 months. I remember the Soviet Union and the Cold War, and you knew who your enemy was. Now, right, everybody it's all double talk. So how do you know? Here's how I'll tell you how you know. If they're not coming to us and saying we want this and we're supporting this, your local state representative, your state senator, your congressman, if they're not saying this is a good idea, let's get in touch with Lourdes and Patty and Bob and whoever else, right? If they're not seeking us out, then we know that we have to bring it to the people, and we've got to come from the bottom up, because it's obviously not coming from the top down.